outrage over the contract negotiations. And I sat there seeing the other side of that, also being a parent in that room that night, thinking, oh my God, this is going to drive the town to bankruptcy. And people didn't see that. All they wanted to do was take care of the teachers, and you have to see both sides of that. And what we really wanted to be able to do was to give you some additional tools to be able to provide some leverage against that negotiation. Specifically, I think, Mrs. Franke, you were referencing, give us some information that we can go into negotiation with. And we actually talked about that when we wrote up this draft. We actually wanted to be in a position to be able to give you that, but didn't necessarily feel that we had the right equations to be able to do that for you. So I wanted to share that with you, and in terms of Mrs. Hurlbut's request to put that in writing, that's great, because that tells us, yes, that's exactly what you want from us. So I think that's really a very positive thing. In terms of our non-binding recommendation, the way I was viewing it is similar to the way you presented it. Are we going to be $100,000 short or $50,000 short? You know what? After that contract was signed, I don't think we as a FinCom recognized what we were up against. We didn't go through that contract. We didn't understand thoroughly the impact to the whole town budget until well beyond that contract was actually signed. And that's not a good position for us to be in. So being able to be involved up front so that we know coming right out of the negotiations what it looks like, that gives us a much better position. It puts us in a place where we can actually start to make decisions right away to address those things. So that's, if anything, what I wanted to share. I think, Mrs. Vaca, you're right on the money. You know what, Dr. T, we're not looking to undermine the negotiations at all. We don't see that as our responsibility at all. But we do want to be involved and understand what the negotiations mean from a broader financial perspective in terms of the budget from year to year to year.
I have several problems with this document. First off, when I signed up for the job, I anticipated that these things were kind of like givens, that we all cooperated as different boards in the best interest of the town. And to have to restate it on a piece of paper, as sort of an agreement, even if it's non-binding, even if it's intent, or whatever you want to call it, seems to me to be a redundancy. And I've never been very happy about signing redundancy type contracts. That said, the most of this is motherhood and apple pie. The issue with regard to negotiations, I've done a lot of negotiations, and what you do when you start in on a negotiation, it's principle to principle. You don't end up by having surrogates do it, and you don't have somebody has to go back and check, because that doesn't end up with a very successful negotiation. What we need is for the FinCom to talk with the negotiators ahead of time. Help us outline what our BATNA is. That's the best alternative to a negotiated settlement or agreement, and that gives us a beginning spot to work with. When you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, we may have a contract that looks to everybody as contracts that look to everybody as though they're pretty highfalutin, but when you get to the nitty-gritty of it, we're still 16th from the bottom in the state in the 07 numbers on a cost per pupil. That is incredible. And when we look at the benchmark study, we're at the bottom of the benchmark communities. That puts us in a very, very unfortunate position of being right at the lowest level that we can get to.
Excuse me, sir. I need to take issue with that statement.
Yes, go ahead.
It is true that per pupil spending is low. A part of that is driven by the money for new school buildings, et cetera, that some other communities are paying at. However, our teacher salaries are pretty close to the center.
If you go to the
Department of Education website, and you look at the numbers that are there for '07, and you look at the notes page will very clearly tell you that capital is not included. That is not included in.
But if you
These
look
are,
at the salaries only, sir, I believe.
no, it's not salaries only. It's all costs except for
No,
capital.
but our salaries are, our teacher
on
salaries are on average.
Right.
And fair comparisons with most of the surrounding communities, our salaries are.
I just didn't know.
Our
anybody
benefits
would
were
think
more.
that our salaries were.
No, we're not.
Because
Right.
we're not.
No,
Excuse me. The baseline is that for the 2007 Mass Department of Education statistics, looking at comparison of all of the costs except for capital, that's buildings, infrastructure, except for that, those are taken out, and comparing all the rest of the costs, we are 16th from the bottom in the Commonwealth. 16th from the bottom in 350 whatever it is towns. That means we are being just about as efficient as you can possibly get. And when we keep trying to beat on that, all we're doing is hurting kids. And they are the people that we're supposed to be on this side of the table. We're supposed to be supporting.
2 points. One is that we made it, I think, clear that we're not trying to negotiate your contracts. That's not our intent. Our intent is to look at a cost analysis of the dollars that are going to be spent, to be driven by these contracts, and see how they fit into the overall budget. How you spend the money, what you spend it on, you've got a bottom line budget, you spend it on the bottom line budget as you see fit. That's your job. The second is that with respect to signing an agreement that is, as you said, redundant with the way things ought to be operating. The idea of the agreement is to make it real clear to everyone, not just the three boards, but everyone in this town, that we all recognize the situation that we're in, and we intend to make sure that we can provide the best level of services to all the population of the town, the students, the parents, the elderly, everyone, from all of the sectors of the town as we can possibly do with the dollars that are available to us from the revenue. That's all we're saying here, and we're trying to put an exclamation point after it. So it may be redundant, but I don't think the redundancy hurts. I think the redundancy helps. It gets everybody in line knowing that there is a problem. Nobody that's picked up a newspaper or has had the television on for the past month isn't aware of what's going on in the country and in the state. And I think it would be irresponsible of us not to act and to reinforce the fact that we're acting as as single a voice as we possibly can. That's the reason for this intent.
so as you see, I'm sitting here with a fairly split committee. I'm at the point where I will support this because it is a letter of intent. I hear what Cliff's saying about redundancy, but if you can put something in writing that everybody's gonna work together, I think it has a little bit more validity.
Well, it's also a
And-
public statement,
Right, it's a public statement.
opposed to something that creates no value.
My concern is the committee won't support this, and I'm sitting here trying to think of, workarounds, alternatives, because I appreciate what you're trying to do with this statement. And I also appreciate my members' concerns, so, geez, if I was Tom Finneran, maybe I would've twisted a few arms and I would've had a 5-0 vote tonight, but I just don't. Nicole, do you have any comment on this at all?
Not to put me on the spot or anything. No, I mean, I'm trying to keep an open mind and listen to everyone's, input. If the main intent of this is to make it public that all the boards are working together to try to be as efficient with the town's money as possible, then I certainly support that, although I think it's a shame that, you know, we say over and over and over that we know what a bind that the town is in, and we realize that going into negotiations, and yet somehow, you know, it's not penetrating in some people's minds that that's what we're trying to do, and that we're not, you know, free spending, let's twist the voters some more and see if we can wring some more money out of them. You know, but I mean, I can certainly support the public intent of it. I am concerned with the timeline. I don't know if we can stick to it. It depends on how the negotiations go. If they're even half as strenuous as the last ones were, it will be 6 months of negotiating. So I mean, we can certainly sign it and say that we will do our best, but I don't know if we can, in good conscience, say that, yes, these are the dates that we will give you.
I would be surprised if you had a contract ready to sign by Springtown meeting, and these dates are basically for Springtown meeting, so.
Right.
So I think Dr.
Eddie, I wonder if, I understand now what you're getting at in that fourth paragraph in terms of the negotiations. I wonder if that could be just reframed a little bit to clarify it based on, you know, your answers tonight. I do think there's some real value in having other, you know, other people who are outside of the process, you know, sort of take a look, second set of eyes as you described it. I think perhaps what an outsider might say really hinges on that, the non-binding recommendation. If somehow, if you could just maybe reshape that a little bit to clarify that negotiations piece.
This document has already been signed by the Board of Selectmen, the Finance Committee. I don't feel like to add an addendum to this.
Clarifying that paragraph, perhaps you could send me an email with suggestion of what might make you feel more comfortable.
I'm not voting on it. It's
Well-
still in the school committee. I'm just making a suggestion.
Yeah, I think Jerry actually discussed that today, Jerry.
Unfortunately, Jerry hasn't been here to
I know.
hear what we've had to say or ask any questions, so it's.
I know.
Well, we don't want to hold you up, though, but we are meeting tomorrow, so,
Oh,
tomorrow morning. Yeah, that's, but I think it was more of a rewording, to make a majority of us more comfortable.
Well, and the full committee is meeting next Monday for a budget workshop.
Right.
Where we'd all be available, so, you know, if we agree, we would be available to sign it.
Right. So, David, do you want to take that action item of sending maybe something to Abby tomorrow or the next day, and, or maybe speaking tomorrow morning, and then we can get something maybe that we can agree to and sign next Monday night? Okay,
Thanks a lot.
thanks.
Thanks,
And
guys.
The reason why I called you Al, I spent like 4 hours with him last week at the fiscal advisory committee, and his picture is still in my brain. His name, I should say. Because he had me for about an hour after the meeting, sorry. Anyway, thanks, Don, thanks, Al.
Thank you, guys. See you tomorrow morning.
Okay. Next, let's bring up our Director of Curriculum and Technology, Pam Bowden, to discuss our 2008 MCAS results. Hi, Pam.
Everything's falling asleep, so just take a second.
I think
She
Pam
is,
is,
yeah.
but if we have extras,